All right. So when you are looking at grant professionals, you want to, and we touched on this a little bit, you want to look at these qualifications. We talked about kind of relevant sector experiences. So, if you're an arts organization, you might want somebody who's worked a lot in the arts in different capacities or, different uh, communities. Education, that's a big one. There's a lot of different ways to have education grants and um, federal, state, foundation. There is just a lot of education grants out there. And so, having somebody who works in that space a lot um, would be very helpful to you. So, yeah, familiarity with target funders. Like, are you looking for, what kind of funding are you looking for? It depends kind of on your project. Is this local funding? A lot of the tower grant or tower garden individuals, I always point them towards their local funders first. You want to look and see who's in your community, what kind of foundations are in your community, and you can kind of Google that. I always say your first stop is your community foundation. If you don't have one of those in your town, look to your county, and look to maybe an adjacent county, where go to their community foundation. They will point you in the right direction. Um, but you want somebody who's familiar with your local funders, what foundations are most interested in your projects that you are pursuing, and then there's state and federal. Um, you'll find a lot of professionals, they have gotten to the point where they are experts in the federal realm, and don't do very, very little foundation uh, grants and there's a few that do both, but you do definitely want somebody if you're looking for a federal grant, I would say you want those experts in those federal fields who understand the requirements of those grants kind of inside and out. Um, if that's what you're looking for, that's who you want on your side for sure. Um, Writing samples, you can ask for writing samples. They should give you redacted. They should not be passing on other people's information to you. That's kind of a red flag if they are not holding people's information confidentially. Um, I rarely talk about who my clients even are. I don't think it's a big secret for most of them. There's a couple clients who are always talking to people about engaging my services, so that's great. But I rarely share all of that information with people. So I'm very private about people's engagement of my services and what they're doing and uh, things like that. So you want to make sure when you're getting writing samples that one, that they're well written and it sounds like something you'd want to read and it sounds like it makes sense to you. um, and ideally you want those to be funded samples, but you can ask for those and references from nonprofit clients. I always offer prospective clients, would you like a reference, any references from any of my clients? And of course, like I said, I'm pretty private about that. So I go back to um, my client and ask them, would you be willing to be a reference for this prospective client? So, and that's usually no problem, but you can definitely ask for references. That's a good idea to do. Some red flags to look for if they're going to guarantee funding success. That's a big red flag to me, and to the industry. You don't want people guaranteeing funding success. Unwillingness to provide references. Yeah, if somebody's just flat out like, yeah, no, you know, I mean, what do you? That's got to be a red flag, I would say. You know, usually if you're doing good work, you know that your clients are going to be At least one or two of them are going to be open enough to want to talk with other organizations about your work. That's pretty obvious. But if they seem to have a lack of understanding about your mission or your community, that might be a little bit of a red flag. Yes, people can do research and learn about your organization and the people that you serve. And I would say, yes, that is doable. Like we do that. But if somebody's really just you just don't think that they're getting what it is that you do and why you do it and why it's important, then it's probably you probably want somebody who wants or who understands that a little better. Because the narratives are not going to come across the way you want them if that person's kind of lacking the understanding of who you are. Um, and yeah, if somebody's pressuring you to act quickly, to sign a contract or to sign an agreement with you, that's there's no reason for that. So, unless like you said, well, we want to turn this grant in 2 weeks, and that's kind of on you. You're not going to get somebody's best work if you're giving them short deadlines. In fact, I won't do a grant that has less than 2 weeks to the due date. I just will decline if somebody says, "Oh, we found this all of a sudden. We need to do this." Um, okay, I won't say that I won't do it, but rarely I don't like to, and I usually tell clients up front, like, this is the way this works, and because you're not going to get someone's best work. Um, if everything's moving fast. So I would say if they're pressuring you to engage with them, that's there's no need for that. So in fact, I will meet prospective clients even multiple times without charge, just to make sure everybody's expectations are on the same page, because it's not great to enter into um, work with a client if everybody doesn't understand what is going to happen and what the work that needs to be done is how much time that's going to take from everybody on a team. I always say grant writing is a team sport, so a lot of people don't understand that, and so I make sure I work with people to get them, like I said, everybody's expectations are on the same page. So yeah, those would be some red flags to look out for. Definitely don't move too quickly on things like that.